Kia ora koutou, everyone. I'm Gary McDonald. I lead interdisciplinary theme 4 of QuakeCoRE, Harnessing Disruptive Technologies for Seismic Resilience, and I will chair this morning's seminar. Just to remind everyone, the seminar consists of a presentation that will run for approximately 25 minutes, or maybe 26 or 27, knowing Raj, and a 10 to 15 minute Q&A at the end. For everyone. We should be all wrapped up by 10:45. And just before we get into the presentation, could I please ask everyone to mute their mics as the presentation has been recorded. There is an opportunity, however, to be able to raise questions. Please do that through the chat and I will be filtering through those. And I'm looking for 2 or 3 juicy questions at the end. So write your questions well and I will probably choose your one if you do, just to go through at the end of it. Anyway, I think it's time to get into it. So it is with delight that I get to chair this morning's seminar with Associate Professor Raj Prasanna. Raj is the Deputy Director teaching at the Joint Centre for Disaster Research at Massey University. Raj's research focuses on the human-centred application of technology for disaster and emergency management. He currently leads the CRISiSLab, a research lab located at the JCDR that focuses on researching technologies to support crisis management, particularly by enhancing situation awareness. His research interests span across technology management, transfer, design, and development. Some of his ongoing research includes decentralized, low-cost sensor networks for early warning in resource-constrained environments, and a multimodal data fusion enhancing situation awareness. In the past, his research outputs have supported organisations domestically and overseas, including the UK, Fire and Rescue Service, and disaster management agencies in South Asia. Raj is a keen advocate of the use of disruptive technologies that support seismic resilience. Raj will talk today of the design, development and implementation of these disruptive technologies. He will also provide some insights into the future research plans. Over to you, Raj.
Thank you very much, Gary. So let me... Kia ora everyone, and it's awesome to have you all on a Friday morning joining the webinar. I'm very grateful to QuakeCoRE for inviting me to do this presentation, and as you may have already seen in the advert, today I'll be presenting on the topic Design Science-led research on disruptive technologies for better disaster management. So Beck asked me to put this slide, so this is a new format for the presentation template. So I'm sure most of you may know me that I have been engaging with QuakeCoRE since its phase 1 as an associate investigator. And currently I'm collaborating with the interdisciplinary program IP4, Harnessing Disruptive Technologies for Seismic Resilience. At the moment, I'm leading 2 RFE-funded projects, one on P-wave-based EEW, earthquake early warning, and the second project to be started in April on LoRa, or long-range driven communications. For a number of years, I have been interested in exploring novel approaches on using technologies to support crisis management. And most of my recent research has been funneled through the work we do at the CRISiSLab, which is, as Gary mentioned earlier, a technology lab at the Joint Centre for Disaster Research. So in next 25 minutes or so, I will try to touch on some of the challenges and design gaps related to the design, implementation, and use of technology-driven systems to support disaster management. I will also try to share our experience of using design science to develop technology applications and why we wanted to use this approach as a broader methodology to conduct our research at the JCDR CRISiSLab. If time permits, I will run through some of the projects we have completed, ongoing, or just started. We know that appropriate use of technology can help enhance our performance. This can come in many different forms. Starting from technology, there can be many paths through different factors to support enhancing performance. Performance can be attached to many contexts and levels. When it comes to disaster management, literature provides actually clear evidence and indicates support for saving lives and reducing economic losses as two of the broader aims of using technology. Also, there are examples and case studies to indicate that the effective use of technology can enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of disaster management. In a nutshell, we can argue that appropriate technological systems can better assist in managing crises, disasters, and catastrophes. In the context of disaster management, we find this particular part quite important and interesting. Over the years, we have experienced that enhancing situation awareness is quite important to improve the performance of managing disasters. It is also observed that most of the other parts actually overlap with situation awareness. Here we are talking about the situation awareness of personnel who manage disasters, like authorities, responders, or even it can be the general public who is going to receive a warning or alert. Ideally, technological systems should be able to support generating and delivering of right information to the right person at right place at the right time in the right format. As a collective, if we manage to produce quality information, it will then lead to enhanced situation awareness. In turn, will help end users to make better decisions, ultimately leading to superior performance. This is easily said and done, researchers like us, but in reality, technology designers and developers face a number of challenges in designing appropriate systems to support disaster management. So in next few slides, let's have a quick look at why it is challenging and what factors make the design of technology supporting disaster management a difficult task. Here, I like to touch on some of the key design challenges that we identified. First one, challenges towards testing the performance of technology supporting disaster management. So here, in some instances, you may only see your technology's true performance after some decades or more. So this is a big challenge. For example, in some situations, only after tens of years, you will know that you haven't considered some crucial assumption in designing your algorithm. You may be doing a lot of simulations or testing of the system with dummy or synthetic data inputs, but it may not reflect the actual scenario. So you will only know this after the actual event. So by the time that happens, there will be no time for you to make any changes, and the outcomes due to those limitations could be catastrophic. This may be a lot different in the case of developing system for business as usual in office organizations, for example. So next one is the challenge of interagency collaborations, especially in the areas of data acquisition, sharing, and inter and intra-operability of technologies. The third challenge I like to mention here, challenges due to the participation of many and variable number of different organizations and personnel. These personnel may have different levels of experience and skills. It would be complex and challenging how to cater to such varying types of end users. It should be mentioned that in time-pressured environments, especially, decision-making is highly dependent on levels of experience and often take the form of non-rational decision-making. The fourth challenge, challenges due to rapid contextual and situational changes. So here, things like the tactical mode selected, the pace of the operation, and the attention of the end users of the system may change quickly. Then the fifth one is that disasters put you into situations of extreme urgency. In such situations, end users of the technology may have to make life and death kind of decisions in seconds. Therefore, in such contexts, you expect your technology to have lower levels of latencies in the process of meaningful and accurate generation of information. Here, for example, earthquake early warning actually can be given as one extreme type of example, because even saving a couple of seconds of processing time of your detection algorithm can contribute towards increasing the warning time. So finally, working environments may not be ideal during disaster situations, especially during response and early recovery. And your end users may be going through immense physical and psychological pressures. They may be often tired or disoriented. So those are some of the challenges. So let's have a look at some of the design gaps. So here in this slide, I have listed some of the design gaps we recognize in relation to designing of technologies supporting disaster management. So as you can see, lack of engagement with the end users throughout the acquisition process is one of the gaps. We believe that having considered the previously explained design challenges, it is extremely important that along with the technological development, for us to give equal priority to engage with the end users throughout the process of technology acquisition, from design to implementation. Then inability to understand the end user needs. This can be related to the limitations of methods you use to engage, type of users selected to engage in the discussions or requirements gathering. Here you should always ask the question, are we engaging with the right type of personnel? And also, the next one can be the timeline of requirements gathering. When do you like to start your requirements gathering and when to end? And also the scope of the end user needs. For example, should you acquire goal-related needs or task-related needs? So the next one, ignore maintaining the balance of key socio-technical aspects related to acquiring technology. So this links back to the above 2 points, actually. Technology acquisition is not only related to the technology itself, but social aspects play a much bigger role, and managing human technology interface is key to success of any technology acquisition supporting crisis management context. So the next gap we have identified is not having the right expertise in the processes of design, development, and implementation. This can be at the research group level, regional or local, regional, national, and global level. Here, what I try to say is that you need to accept the fact that you have to tap into the right expertise. Importantly, as an expert confined to a particular domain, you should not assume that you can do a good job covering the expertise required from the other domains. This is really, really crucial. So the next one, ignore required levels of change management and leadership. These are actually organizational management concepts, but very crucial. You should realize that on most occasions, technology acquisition in disaster management situations fails due to lack of effort in change management and not providing necessary leadership throughout the acquisition process. This is especially important because acceptance of newly introduced systems depends not primarily on the technological capability, but on the human perception, which we discussed in the last point. We have inability to gain trust from end users. They may not trust the process or end product or both. This is nothing to do with the technology. Technology can be perfect, but simply a human behavior related factor. So yeah, so with that, we have discussed some challenges and gaps. Comparatively, building technology artifacts supporting disasters can be quite challenging, especially compared to designing a solution for a business as usual context, as I mentioned earlier. So by going through the literature, we can argue actually that we are still on a steep learning curve with regard to developing technologies supporting disaster management. Sometimes we may spend millions of dollars and end up with a half-baked technology product. So we need to take extra precautions. There is a great danger that we will only know the true quality and capability of the product after decades. So at the CRISiSLab, we try to incorporate design science, especially when we focus on developing technology artifacts. These artifacts can be tools or products based on software or hardware or a bit of both. So here I will not go into an in-depth discussion to introduce design science, but you can see in the picture on the left here that design science is an approach where it allows you to position your tools and techniques to seamlessly work across 3 different domains: environment, design of the research, and the knowledge base. This is facilitated via 3 research activity cycles, as you can see here: relevance, design, and rigor. There are a number of very useful pieces of literature out there about design science and its application. But importantly, Alan R. Hebner's work, adapted from early design science conceptualization, have been used heavily in research paradigms for information technology and IT-related research, especially focusing on supporting artifact design and development. As shown in the picture on the left of the screen, in 2004, Hebner came up with the idea of the 3 research cycle approach for design science, with guidelines on how to use it in practice, and later in number of occasions, introduce add-ons and modifications. You can also read some of our recent work from CRISiSLab, where we have looked at more recent developments and modifications to this approach. The particular picture on the right shows an adaptation of the design science from Hebner that we use to support our earthquake early warning research work. Here, I'd also like to take a couple of minutes to explain why we feel design science is more appropriate for our work at CRISiSLab. We find that design science is capable of providing methodologically sound common grounds for transdisciplinary teams to work together to design, develop, and implement technology supporting disaster management. It can lead to minimizing some of the common design challenges and gaps. We feel this is particularly important when it comes to developing technology to support disaster management, where most of the design failures occurs due to a lack of interfacing and integration of social and technology attributes together. Also, it is very clear we need to bring multi or transdisciplinary teams comfortably working towards developing technology. This is very important. For us to work together in harmony in different teams, it is vital to have a common methodological home or framework which is acceptable to all parties involved. This is actually particularly challenging for researchers coming from technology domains. For example, computer science, electronics, telecommunications, or any other engineering fields. Even they already know and accept that human, social, and environmental engagement is essential in the process of design and development of the technology. They find challenging to bridge the boundaries between the methods, tools, and techniques used in their own domains and the methods, techniques, and tools used in social, organizational, and psychological domains. So my personal experience as someone originally coming from an engineering background is that I have seen research domains such as information systems and management of information systems. Those have managed to develop well-established research paradigms that help them to collaborate and engage better with social science, psychology, business, or organizational management domains. The roots of these IS paradigms and approaches are essentially from the psychosocial domains. For example, well-known scholars like Michael D. Myers from University of Auckland Information Systems Group has pioneered in developing the research paradigm to support conducting information systems research. Their work has helped immensely to create collaborative research environments. Even then, these paradigms are more towards exploring more management questions related to information systems. For example, in investigation on user acceptance, trust, and user perceptions. The problem is the comfort levels of socio-technical methodological collaborations. They start diminishing when we move away from the soft management side of technology. This I find a big challenge for researchers working on hardcore technology design and development. This is where I find design science can be very useful, as it allows both technology development and other psychosocial methods, tools, and techniques to coexist, under a common methodological umbrella, leading to support collaboration in multidisciplinary work, which, as we discussed earlier, is highly essential if you are to develop technologies to support disaster management. The methodology journey of our projects at CRISiSLab starts with a philosophical discussion of epistemology, ontology, and axiology. In line with that, we bring design science as a broader methodology, and within it, you can call or position social, behavioral, technological methods, tools, and techniques. We may be using them for things like sampling, data collection, data analysis, and of course, artifact design, build, implement, and validate your artifact. Having used this approach for several projects, we can see the benefit. But there are problems. Design science supported projects can take longer time periods from design to implementation. One can find it actually painfully slow. So you need to be patient. PhD students coming from fields like computer science, electronics, or any other engineering fields may find this challenging at the beginning, at least. In our case, students were brave enough to go through the process and later managed to actually embrace the success of the outcomes. So in this slide, you can see that we managed to apply design science to design and build different types of artifacts, so variety of artifacts. And from these artifacts, the outputs can directly support the situation awareness during various stages of disaster management. So next, I will elaborate on how we have used design science for one of our ongoing projects, one of our flagship projects at CRISiSLab, earthquake early warning related work. So actually, this is a great example of how we use a design science-led approach to conducting research. This work has initially funded by the Earthquake Commission and Massey funding. And in the earlier phase of the project, we explored the feasibility of public engaged earthquake early warning network consisting of low-cost sensors. If I explain the approach a little bit, first we have built a community of practice to create a platform for discourse on earthquake early warning for New Zealand, then reach out to communities and end users to capture their needs, explore the feasibility of using low-cost technologies, importantly, the feasibility of using edge computing, and finally, bringing all them together, propose community engaged earthquake early warning architecture consisting of low-cost sensors.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay. If I explain a little bit more at the very beginning, I must say that the use of design science as an overarching approach helped us to make a consensus among a highly diversified team of researchers. In the team, we have got social scientists, information system experts, seismologists, designers, telecommunication experts, electronics and IT computer science experts, and people who are doing psychology-related things. As we move forward with the research, the design science approach helped us to use it as a bridging and interfacing mechanism or some form of a glue in the background to keep all the stakeholders working towards a common goal. It helped us to build a very successful community of practice, started with the multidisciplinary research team and expanded that to integrate with the general public and schools who have become potential end users of the project. Also, we engage with CDEM groups and other practitioners. Then research groups and researchers within common interest, domestically as well as in other countries. So it has been a great tool to build a community of practice for technology-related projects. So in this particular project, when it comes to technology solutions, we wanted to be innovative and disrupt the current approaches of using technological components, thinking about some of the challenges faced by warning systems in general. Almost all the earthquake early warning systems currently process all their data at the central cloud-based servers. We wanted to disrupt this traditional approach. So with the use of emerging sensor technologies, where our sensors are equipped with good enough processing capabilities, we wanted to minimize the use of cloud and do as much as possible processing at the sensor node itself. By doing so, minimize the amount of data going out from the sensor as much as possible. We want to get closer to as much as possible to zero bandwidth use. In other words, we want to minimize or avoid using internet whenever possible, or at least take the first step towards achieving it. Even if you do not have processing capability at the node, the cost of integrating processing power to a sensor node is getting actually cheaper by the day. So it is not a big challenge to make sensors more intelligent these days. So this is kind of a technology approach we have taken and try to be disruptive. So in addition, there are a few other ongoing earthquake early warning related projects. So like to thank QuakeCoRE for supporting 2 of the projects listed here, and we have also received funding from RNC and Massey to conduct some of these projects. So I'll take last 2 minutes, hopefully, Gary, if you allow me, to go through a couple of slides to discuss about PhD projects where we use design science. So this one is actually funded by GNS Science, a completed project by Said Yasir Imitias. Hopefully Yasir will be, I'm sure he will be around. So here Yasir developed a knowledge-driven decision support system to support understanding of critical infrastructure interdependencies. This is a completed project, and I captured the images from his thesis. Onto the right side, you can find his adaptation of the design science. So he used design science as his overarching methodology. So each project had its own adaptation to support answering their research questions. For example, this is by Nilani Algiriage. So she just submitted her thesis and hopefully defending it in a couple of weeks' time. And so again, you can see onto the right, so she had her own adaptation of design science for her project, where she looked at multi-source, multimodal data fusion to support a situation awareness. And finally, this is a really new project we are working on. We haven't decided yet the actual research framework. We are fine-tuning the proposal. We are timely topic, impact-based flood warning using AI. And definitely this will be based on, again, a design science as an approach. So in addition, what I have mentioned, at the CRISiSLab, we are doing so many other exciting things. Some of these projects are on topics like technology and information management, data quality, environmental monitoring, crowdsourcing and citizen science, requirements engineering. And we also enjoy working with the schools through educational activities and competitions. So finally, I should mention about the CRISiSLab challenge. We are in last 2 years, we ran a competition among schools in Wellington region on earthquake early warning related topics with seismometers. Marian Tan, Marian should be around, I think, is leading this. And this year we are thinking of changing the competition theme to tsunami. And at the moment in the process of fine tuning the concept. So very excited to see how it goes, watch the space. So with that, thank you very much.